Hey, what's up everybody? Today we're gonna tackle some odds and ends on the car project here, starting with the rear end. We're gonna get the bumper back together, and then I'm gonna work my way towards the front. So getting the rear end back together, I got my catch can that I got paint all over, but I don't care. It has a pretty interesting routing. So if you're running a turbo VR6 in anything, the routing I would do for a catch can would be right off the valve cover, and I run down to the inlet of the catch can right there, and then the outlet of the catch can goes right back into the pre-turbo intake, which is a bunch of tape and junk here. I'm gonna fix that later, but it's pretty simple routing. So I'll just tighten that up and we'll move on to the next part. Next, I'm gonna do the exhaust, put it back on. One thing I gotta say about exhausts and plumbing in general is if you can V-band it, go for it. It just makes the setup a lot cleaner. One thing I will say about V-bands though is if you weld them too hot, they will warp and you will have a bad seal, which is the case for mine as well. I have a little bit of a warp in this spot right here, which makes it a pain to put on. All right, so for the rear bumper, so far I've taken a measurement between the two braces for the wing, and I just took a center line measurement and measured from the center line of the bumper to the measurement point, and then the thickness of the brace itself. I did that on both sides. I need to cut basically all the way down through. This is my junk bumper. I'm planning to get a new one soon, thanks to the fact that I cut a giant hole for an exhaust on the previous revision, and I don't feel like repairing that. Up, slide in from back here. All right, I got the fitment mostly on. I haven't put the flares bolted in yet the rest of the way. I will say the rear bumper on this thing is not the most aesthetically pleasing part of this car, but it fit okay. I got the slots extended up to the front. I still gotta clean those up a little bit yet, but it allows me to actually get the bumper on and off without removing the entire wing. I did go a little too far on the cuts down low. I measured it to the tail light, and apparently the taillight and the bumper itself, the bumper goes a little lower than the taillight. I wasn't quite thinking that straight through. I went to the bottom of the taillight, which I thought was also the bottom of the bumper. I was wrong. I should have went up a little bit more. So cut less than you think you do. And since I had the wrap on there, that's kind of why it looks ugly so much, because the wrap started to peel a little bit on the outsides. But overall, hey, at least the bumper's able to be put on now. All right, so for wiring the front of the car, getting the headlights and stuff ready, now it's time to talk about these things. These are one of my favorite little tools to use. I'm working on wiring, especially when you're in a tough situation or you're in a tough position where getting a soldering iron in there would not be feasible. These things are awesome. They're just a little piece of low heat solder in between a piece of heat shrink tubing with 2 dots of glue on each end that seal the wire in, and they'll melt under the heat of a heat gun. So I'm gonna do a quick demonstration right now using a piece of wire. I've just kind of looped it around itself. Essentially, you just gotta strip and twist the 2 ends together. Try to get it as tight as possible to be like the original size of the wiring, so you could slide the heat shrink tube over easier. Let's see if I can get a good shot of this. So the heat gun's just on full blast. I've got the wire, I'm just gonna kind of hold it over it, and it should shrink down right away. You'll see that right now. When the little solder bubble bursts, it should wick right into the wires. You'll see that in a second. You see the solder coats everything on the bottom there. And once that's cooled off, you should have a nice waterproof, solid connection. Alright, quick overview of what I did in that time lapse. I put wire loom on just about everything I touched, which is what's going across the radiator fans there. That's what hides all of the headlight wiring and demonized wiring that goes across. I have a huge bundle of stuff over here. I VHB taped the resistors together and taped them to the body for the demonized down here. And then all this wiring is just existing car wiring plus everything else that goes forward. And then I grounded the headlights here. And then I put the power straight to the terminal coming off the battery right there. And then on the interior, I finished filing down the dashboard where this Audi TT headlight switch fit in the car. Still got a little more work to do there, but I also installed, so far I gotta still bake a little panel right here to hide it on. But this will be the switch for the demonized. It just steals power from a constant circuit on the fuse panel in here, which is also a Mark IV Audi TT style. I don't know if you can hear it on here, but I had an issue with the wiring for getting the headlight high beams to work, which is just a solenoid to activate the little shutter. All right, demonizer on and wired up. Everything's looking good. I lowered the air suspension to about where it's gonna sit for show. It could still roll like this, but it won't be able to drive, so I have to rise it up a little bit. I'll have to go back over these holes again. The tape, I applied it in too cold of weather. They started to peel back. And I completed printing the other side scoop. I've sanded and re-primered them. I'm going to keep adding layers of filler primer just to fill in any imperfections. And then I'll start putting paint on and put both of these on the car. Alright, so that's going to be it for this update. I have new content coming very soon. I'm filming a bunch of videos simultaneously to try to get everything broken up into their own little sections to make the information a little more presentable. I'm going to keep chugging along on the paint for those side scoops and work on a little bit more tidying around the garage and stuff like that. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and hit the like button. And if you want to see the rest of the updates on this car and the future ones we have coming soon, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Peace out.